Welcome to the Power Factor Show.
The bandwidth for this episode of the Power Factor Show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network, firearmsradio.tv.
Sponsored by Taylor Freelance, Rainier Ballistics, Hodgson Powders, and JPL Precision.
Hi, welcome to Power Factor. I'm Larry, and this is another episode in the series of our reloading benches that you guys have been asking about. We've over the years we've filmed quite a lot of episodes in front of our benches, and whether we're talking about reloading or whether we're talking about gunsmithing or maintenance or what have you, and we've got a lot of questions over the years about, we want to see some details about your loading benches and your storage methods and how what kind of equipment you guys have and all that. So we're going to go into detail this week at my house. So we've already had Steve talk about his setup and Rick talked about his extensive setup. What I have is a fairly modest setup, but it works for me, and we'll talk about everything I have and everything I use and how I built the bench and all that kind of stuff. So let's start over. We'll just go from left to right, top to bottom, and start with storage here. So just kind of come on over here. Back in episode 117, when I talked about reloading with the Dillon Square Deal, I showed this off. This is just my cabinet where I keep my my primers up at the top with, I got some 22 ammo I bought a few years ago, trying not to use it up. My loaded ammunition, my powder, I've got old rule books in here, and just kind of where I store some stuff. I got a couple boxes of shotgun shells, I got some Hornady bullets in there, but just kind of where I keep my loaded ammo, basically. My loaded ammo, my powder, and my primers. I just like to keep it locked up, out of the way, and just kind of, just keep it locked up, keep it secure, keep kids out of it, keep neighbors out of it when I leave my door open. I don't want anybody getting into that, because this is valuable stuff, really, especially these days. I should mention, I'm pretty embarrassed to say, we still have some of this Load Houston ammo that we still haven't tested. It's been, again, kind of embarrassing to say, it's been a year since I've had this, and we're supposed to be testing and doing an episode on that. It's still here, Matt Rosser. So we will get to that at some point. But anyway, that's, like I say, that's where I store my powder, primers, and ammunition. As we come across the wall, just some real super basic shelves that I built out of some scrap plywood, and just with some very basic shelf brackets. This is where I just keep my just junk. I got some cleaner, I got my earplugs, my radio, rifle rest for kind of precision rifle stuff that I don't really do anymore, and other side, same shelf. Basically, I just keep my my Dillon maintenance kit and some empty ammo boxes up there. This here in the middle, these are acro bins, is what they're called. And there's a company that makes these, and anytime you buy a Dillon reloading press, and then there's other companies as well. I think Hornady's presses come with these. They're red when you buy Hornady's, but these are called acro bins, and they've got little hooks where you can, set them up on a rack. And after, the blue ones, obviously I bought from Dillon. You see I've got some clear ones as well, and they come in all different sizes. If you buy the SL900 shotgun loader like Steve has, you get one that's even bigger than this. But the clear ones, actually, I bought from a local store, and when I was looking for the hanger, the rack that you set up on the wall to hang these from, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say I probably overpaid for that, because when I looked online to find that rack, the only store in the whole state was the Container Store down in Bellevue, Washington, which, if you guys aren't local, that is like the most affluent area in the state, so everything is highly overpriced at this mall. But anyway, I just had to have it. I bought it. I think just that back plate where I hang my stuff was about $40 or something like that. But I bought extra bins, all the clear ones you can see I bought at the local store. And this is just where I keep just kind of everything, all the little small parts and things. I mean, I've got my scales, my electronic scales in here. I've got all my solvents and cleaners and oils up here at the top. I keep my my bore snakes in this one. I've got, what do I got here? I've got extra die sets for my square deal. This is my 9mm die set, for example, that's all set up, ready to go. Just kind of where I keep the small parts. You know, my die boxes are in this one. I keep my pickup tubes in here as well for loading up my primers into the press. So anyway, that's how I store my small stuff in these little bins. And of course the bins are used for the press, which we'll get over to in a moment. But I've got a couple different toolboxes. This one here I like a lot. It's kind of cheap, and I traded somebody something for this toolbox, but it's a nice place to keep my, you know, just little cleaning brushes and stuff like that. I like this this system with the drawers, so it's just easily accessible with these, you know, little, like I said, little pistol cleaning brushes. Keep my calipers in here, my set of little screwdrivers and things like that I keep in here, files, dental picks. Ask your dentist for dental picks. You get good quality dental picks. If they're about to throw them away, you know, when I got these a long time ago, I asked the dentist if they had any that they were getting rid of, and they said, well, they kind of said, well, why do you want them? I said, well, for gun cleaning stuff. They said, okay, just as long as you don't, you know, start picking your teeth at, because you can damage your teeth if you don't know what you're doing with these things. But there's a tip for you there. Ask your dentist. Here's another tip for you. Check this out. These are great for cleaning like firing pin channels and things like that. The extractor, spring tunnel on a Glock, for example. I think this might be a little bit big, but this, ask your wife or girlfriend to go to Sephora for you and get these little sample eyeliner or whatever they are, eyelash brushes. Totally free. They got a whole bin of them. Just, you know, there's another tip for you there. I've got, I don't know, half a dozen of those in here. I keep, I store my bullets in just regular old ammo boxes. When I'm loading, I just try to keep these full of the bullets that I'm using at the time. And yeah, that's where I keep my bullets for loading. My heater, I keep this in here for the winter time. I know that's a little bit controversial, but having a heat source around gunpowder, but I don't know. It's not that big a deal. I pull it way out and kind of aim it to the side just to kind of heat the air around me. I point it away from the press just for safety. I've never had any problems. I don't spill any powder to mention, you know, I mean, nothing significant anyway. The press I use for pistol loading, it's a Dillon Square Deal B. We covered that back in episode 117. The only reason I remember that is I recently just got a question on that episode, so just answered one this morning from a viewer. This is pretty well tricked out as far as, you know, different accessories you can buy from Dillon. I've got the bullet tray, the aluminum bullet tray. I've got the strong mount riser. I even, since that last episode, I even added the wrench, the tool holder here with the dipped Allen wrenches and the Square Deal wrench for making your adjustments on your dies. In addition to that, we talked about in that old episode, you've got your this comes standard here with the Square Deal. This is where the finished cartridge bin mounts up, and I added a bracket here that I had made so I can put my my clean brass here. So I'm just feeding the brass into the press. It's a real short distance, good economy of motion on that. So that's where I keep my brass. And then we also talked about this where I catch my spent primers. I put a little funnel here and they come down the tube here into this jug, and we'll talk about that as we get down to underneath the bench. Just got my other toolbox over here with just basic tools, basic wrenches, screwdrivers, and whatnot. So I guess now it's, pretty good time to talk about the bench itself. So when I first moved to this house, and I moved here from Florida, 11 years ago, and when I first got here, my first priority was to build a workbench. And at the time, I was shooting USPSA, but I wasn't reloading yet. I was still buying 9mm ammunition at Walmart for 10, 11 bucks a 100, and I was just shooting my 9mm in production. That's all I was really interested in at the time. And I wasn't even thinking about reloading yet. I was still too new to competition to realize any benefits from that, and just shooting plain old basic 9mm 115 grain was good enough for the sport. So I moved here, and my first goal was to build a workbench, and just basically because I always grew up having a workbench. Ever since I was 5 years old, my 5-year-old birthday, I asked for a workbench and a set of tools, and my dad built me a workbench, and this little basic little workbench with a pegboard, and I had some a kiddie kind of size tool set, but I mean real tools with like a real metal hand saw. And I just would screw around and had a little vise, and I would just cut wood and hammer nails into boards, nail boards together, whatever as a kid, just building kind of nothing. But I've just ever since then I've always had a workbench just for general, any kind of house maintenance, car maintenance. Gun cleaning eventually came into gun cleaning and all that. And so when I wanted to build the bench, the first thing I did was to go online and look for some ideas of how to build it and get some plans. And what I found at the time, and I haven't looked lately since I've had this bench already for a long time, but at least at that time, nobody wanted to give you any plans to build a workbench. They wanted to sell you plans. It's like, here's a book, here's a here's a picture of a bench. We'll sell you the plans on how to build it. And then I find this right here, and we'll throw this up on the screen. I found an exploded drawing of a workbench. And as you look at this, you see the left half is put together, the right hand is exploded, and you can see all the pieces and parts that go into it. So, and I took a look at that, and you notice also there's no dimensions on here. But I thought, that's perfect. I mean, that's all I need as an idea on how to build a good, sturdy, solid bench. That's all I need right there. I can make up my own dimensions and get it just exactly how I want it and how I need it. So first thing you notice is that it's all 2x4 construction, and there's a solid wood top. You could use anything you want. You could use 3/4 ply, doubled up 3/4 ply is good. Good thick bench top that's good and solid. I used a solid core wood door, and this is it's just a very plain, basic, no frills door. Solid wood, solid core. Pick one up at your local Home Depot or Lowe's or local hardware store, and it makes a real good bench top. I was lucky in that I went there asking for a solid core door, and they said, well, what are you going to use it for? So I'm going to build a workbench. They go, I got the perfect thing for you. Somebody custom ordered this door. It's not something we normally stock, and then somehow the order got canceled, and they had this door at the store, and it wasn't part of the regular inventory, so they were interested in getting rid of it. I got a good deal on it. I don't remember how much it was, 40 bucks or something like that. It didn't even have a doorknob hole cut in it, so if it did, I just would have put that in the back instead of in the front. But that makes a good bench top, so there's a tip for you there. As I look at this, the rest of this drawing, on the right hand side, like I say, it's all 2x4 construction, and you can make these dimensions anything you want. You can make it as tall as you want, you can make it as wide, as long as you want, and still follow this basic plan. So I did just that, and it's worked out real well. One thing I might do differently, and we'll look at this as we go underneath and look at some details, but the shelf here on the bottom is just a regular piece of, I don't know, 1/2-inch ply, or not even 1/2-inch ply, 3/8 ply, or whatever it is, plywood, and it's resting on 1x2 rails that run along the front and the back, and that's the only thing that holds that shelf. And so it's bridged between the front and the back, and I've got so much weight on mine that over the years it's kind of started sagging a little bit, and if I was to do it differently, I might put some braces that cross from front to back to support the weight of that shelf a little bit better. The other thing you notice is that once you've got the side built up, in order to attach the side to the top and the bottom rails that go from left to right, you've got a nut and bolt that bolts through. So it's another good thing about this design is it's easily taken apart. If you're going to move, you can take this bench apart relatively easy and relocate and reassemble it at your new house if you're moving someday. So that's something I've never had to do, but it's something I've thought about. If I had to break it down, I could. One thing you will notice is over here there's no shelves. This drawing shows some shelves to be built. I'm not that good of a carpenter. I wasn't going to build shelves. I'm not a finished carpenter. I'm not that detailed. I don't have proper tools for things like that. I don't have planers or drill presses or any kind of accurate power tools like that. This was all built by hand. I mean, this was I believe I did use a regular circular saw to cut the 2x4s to length, but I drilled all the holes by hand and turned all the screws in by hand and all that. So it doesn't take a whole lot of tools to build something like this. I don't know what else. So we're gonna go, I guess, underneath and just kind of talk about the storage I've got underneath. Just basic tools I've got over here on this side, just my drill, my Dremel and that kind of thing. Box of rags and old t-shirts for gun cleaning. I got this little bit extra tall bucket. It's actually a 7.5 gallon bucket, not a 5 gallon bucket. It's just a good height for sitting in a little chair and sorting brass. These are my, for the range, my, what do you call this? Just a brass bag, just so you can shake out the dirt. It's got a screen on the bottom. I was apparently collecting wet brass last time I used that. These are pans for sorting brass, different sizes, 45, 40, and 9. These are called shell sorters, I think, and all the dirt just falls into the bucket. So that's handy to have if you're a reloader. I've got my, as I come across here, I've just got my tumbler. This is a Lyman tumbler. I bought my reloading press used, and with it came this tumbler, so I was very happy about that. And one thing I like about it is the clear top, so I can see what's in there. While we're talking about it, I use walnut to clean my brass. It cleans a little bit faster. When you're talking about dry tumbling anyway, it cleans faster than corn cob, and it gets clean enough for me. I don't need my stuff looking brand new, shiny. As long as it's not going to get, as long as it removes the dirt from the outside, get some of the soot out from the inside, that's pretty much all you need. You don't want dirt, sand going up into your dies on your reloading press. This jug here we talked about a moment ago. Anytime I've got a piece of brass that cannot be reloaded because it's split or overly bulged, or the mouth is been stepped on so hard it's caved in, I throw that in here. But also my spent primers from my my reloading press go into this bucket. Every time I crank the handle, get a primer, it goes down in there. And this thing's getting heavy enough that I don't know, it's 15 pounds or so, and brass is going for, yellow brass goes for maybe $2 per pound, maybe a little bit more than that. So all those primers, all those spent primers are made out of yellow brass, and you take it to your local metal recycling facility, they'll give you a couple bucks per pound. And that just helps buy more powder, more primers, what have you. So more bullets, more reloading components. So that's money in the bank right there. Don't throw that stuff away. I keep my my brass in different containers. Let me just pull these out here. So I've got my my 40 brass here, and I keep dirty brass in a big bucket. I've got a little bit smaller bucket for clean brass, and then I've got my even smaller bucket, which is marked now with how many rounds. This is 1,000 rounds of cleaned and sized 40 caliber. And we talked about back in episode 117, I used this Hornady single stage with a Redding GRX die to fully resize my 40 brass, which this the ram pushes the brass all the way through, full length resizing these, and I've never had a problem with a fat round or a stuck case in the chamber since then. So really like that. It's an added step, but once I've got it here, then it's ready to feed into the press. Another tip for you, as you can see, I keep my dirty brass in the back on the shelf underneath there, and it's hard to get to. And every once in a while, say I'm loading 40, and I come across a 9 case. So I've got the same size jug underneath there for my 9mm, and what I've done is, let me see if I can get this dang thing off. I can't even get it off here. There we go. What I've done here is I drilled a 1/2-inch hole right here in the lid. So if I'm loading 40 and I come across a 9, I can just plunk it in the bucket without having to do what I just did and struggle to get the lid off and drag it out from underneath there and get all the other stuff out of the way. I can just reach in there and throw that 9 in the bucket. My 9's got the same type of hole in there. So that's definitely handy. I keep, I've got all kinds of dirty brass in here. This is random calibers that I don't shoot. If I go pick brass from the range, I come across a 357 SIG or a, I don't know, whatever, 38 Super. If I find those, I plunk them in here. I've got individual Ziploc bags in here labeled with each caliber. And eventually, as I get enough 45, 38 Super, I'll go to somebody that has that caliber and say, hey, you want to trade? I got some brass for you. That's easier than trying to only pick one caliber. I pick kind of everything when I'm picking brass. What else? I mean, we can get into details. Let's take a look at, well, you probably noticed I've got fire extinguishers. I think it's very important to have fire extinguishers when you've got a reloading bench. I noticed John Larson, JPL Precision, on our show. He's also got 2 fire extinguishers on the end of his bench, ready to go. And that's an important thing to have when you're messing with primers and powder and all that. It's just good to have. What else? Let's go talk about. We'll get underneath the bench here next, and we'll show you some details about how it's constructed. Okay, so now you can see some details about how the bench is constructed. Like I said, it's all 2x4 construction. You can see doubled up 2x4s here, doubled up 2x4s here, down here. This is the shelf like I talked about. It's a thin piece of plywood. It's just resting on a couple of 1x2 rails on each side. I've got some small nails just keeping that in place, but you see there's a gap right here starting to open up, and this is starting to bow just a little bit. So if I was going to rebuild this, and I will probably have to replace the shelf someday, I'll put some boards going across this way to support more weight of all these brass buckets. Here's you can see how the bench is constructed. Like I said, the side is held on to the top and bottom rails with a nut and a bolt. And if you can see this right here, there is a nut and a washer in here. So I drilled a hole. This is a 1-inch hole that's counterbored with a spade bit, and then there's a hex head bolt that comes in from the outside and holds the side onto the tabletop, the bench top, and these bottom rails as well. Now here's the most beneficial thing I've done since building this bench. You can see the head of a bolt here. What this is actually is a masonry anchor. You see I've got a concrete wall here in my garage. I drilled a hole into the concrete wall with a hammer drill and put one single redhead masonry anchor into the wall and bolted the bench to the wall. And that is, I mean, I don't care how heavy your bench is, I don't care how many layers of 2x4s, I don't care if you brace it with angled boards. There's no better way to make this a solid bench than bolting it to the wall. And that's something that came from the Brian Enos forum. In the gallery there's a long running thread. People post pictures of their workbenches, their loading benches, and at one time I started seeing people say, bolt it to the wall. Yeah, it's a nice bench, but bolt it to the wall. You have to bolt it to the wall. And so I thought, man, what a great idea, because as you crank on the reloading press, the bench would wobble a little bit. I don't care how much weight I had on it. So now it's absolutely rock solid with just that one single bolt. And I did it on this end because this is where the press is at right here. So that was easy to do. I just borrowed the hammer drill from work and popped one in there, and 3/8 redhead anchored. So. Okay, so that's a quick tour of my loading bench and my modest little storage setup and what have you. So again, we'll throw this picture up. Maybe we can make it downloadable off of our website if you like. And it's one style of bench that works really well for a garage or a basement when you've got enough space to put up something like this. Another good resource, if you will, like I just mentioned, the Brian Enos forum over in the gallery. There's a thread that's people have posted their loading bench, photos of their loading bench. You could go through there and get all kinds of good ideas. I mean, there's people in apartments, there's people that have built them into closets, into just small condos. I don't know, a bench that's 2.5 feet wide. Maybe it's built similar to mine, but it's only 2.5 feet wide if you only have that amount of space. There's so many ideas on there, and go check that out too. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Hope that was informative. And obviously, if you have any questions, you can send that to us on our email account, powerfactorshow@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/powerfactorshow. If you're new to the show, I highly suggest you go to the website, powerfactorshow.com. Over on the right-hand side, you can filter on all different topics. If you're interested in reloading, click on the reloading tab. If you're interested in IDPA, click on the IDPA tab. There's so many different ways that we sort our episodes so that you can, if you're new to our show, you can focus on certain topics at first and not just start from the bottom up and start at episode 1, and you can zero in pretty quickly on topics that you're interested in. So check that out as well. And thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next week. Hey Power Factor fans, we got a trivia question for you this week, and here it is. This is a USPSA rules question. Using the current rule book, what colors can you not paint a scoring metal popper or metal target? Scoring metal targets may be painted, the rule book says you can paint them any color except for 3 colors. Send those answers to us at powerfactorshow@gmail.com. What 3 colors can you not paint scoring metal poppers in USPSA? Send us your answers, and we'll award a prize to the winner in 1 week from now. Thanks. See you next week.